Act like an open API. Allow people to tap into your knowledge and share knowledge freely. Also, don't give up. Inspiring words from our next guest, who has been empowering women in tech for years, and she's just getting started. Folks, welcome to the Daily Tech Show. I'm your host, John Meyer, and boy, do we have an awesome show for you today. I'm super excited being able to introduce and interview our next guest, who's been a driving force of innovation and a top influencer for both cloud and IoT. She's written several books, including Geek Girls Are Cheap. She's also been named CNN's top 10 most powerful women in tech, including a board member of Girls in Tech. Now, before we bring on our next guest, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notification. Here to inspire you to never give up and follow your dreams. Please join me in welcoming Vice President of Public Sector Partners and Programs at AWS, Sandy Carter. Sandy, thank you for joining the show.
John, it is such a pleasure to be here. And I am loving that sign behind you, I have to say.
Thank you so much. As always, I give credit to my wife. It was her idea. I just built the thing.
It's great. It's awesome.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So, Sandy, we never officially got to meet while I was at AWS, but I did get to see you on stage at SKO back in 2020 in breezy Chicago. So it's actually nice to virtually meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to virtually meet you too. And I'm so glad we don't have to go back to Chicago in January.
Just a little cold.
Just a little cold. Yes. And we just got out of there before a massive snow blizzard came through. So yeah, let's leave Chicago behind in the winter.
You were one of those people just like myself who bumped up their flight to get out of there right before it.
Yes, I was.
Well, kudos to you. I did the same thing. And thank goodness, because I saw all the horror stories come back from the team and them being stuck there.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So, Sandy, we have so much to share for the audience. Let's jump right into it. Today, we're talking about women in leadership in tech. How about you tell us about your role in public sector, and can you explain what public sector means to the audience?
Yeah, it's quite funny, actually, because public sector is so different based on the company that you work for. For us at Amazon Web Services, it's very broad. So it covers, of course, the normal suspects, federal government, state and local government, but it also covers things like healthcare, education, space, that's outer space, not space in an apartment or office building, not for profit. It also covers things like transportation as well. So it's a very broad mission, and it's global. So it's not just what we do here in the US, but it's what we do around the world. So my role specifically in that is I look after our public sector partners who are so integral to our customers in public sector. In fact, the majority by far of all that we do in public sector is really driven by that partner community.
So, Sandy, I did notice a couple of themes within, obviously public sector, and we're going to talk about them with the AWS partners from healthcare. That's coming up in our discussion, talking specifically about partners in general. But one of our main topics today is that you most recently wrapped up the very first summit, or what seemed like the first summit in a long time, the DC Summit, which was formerly known as the Public Sector Summit. Can you share some of those top announcements?
Yeah, it was really cool, John, I have to say. We had over 3,000 people live. So not on a Zoom call, like live there, and many, many more who live streamed in to listen. But it was so great to see everybody in person. And our partners showed up in first style, I have to say. They were there en masse. We had some record-breaking sessions. And it was really great. I have to tell you a funny story, though. Somebody handed me a business card, and I took it and I looked at it for quite some time. And the person finally said, "Are you from Asia?" Because, in Asia, you really stare at a business card. And I said, "I am not, but I haven't seen a business card in 2 years." So I was just looking at it to refamiliarize myself with what it was. Well, back onto your question. We had several really interesting announcements at DC Summit. And they were around our 3Ms. If you saw me at SKO, I like threes. And the three themes that we did were mission, which is really about purpose or line of business, what you're doing to digitize a hospital or to build the next fighter jet. We had announcements around migration. So how do you get from on-premises to the cloud? And then modernization too. And modernization is about, all the new cool stuff, the containers, the AI/ML, the IoT, that sort of thing. So just a couple of announcements on mission. We were so excited to announce that Zoom, which has been a customer of Amazon Web Services for some time, has now also become a partner. And they are now offering Zoom for Government in our AWS Marketplace with great help from Carahsoft, one of our top government distributors, and Tackle.io. And then we had the great pleasure to announce our cohort for healthcare. We selected 10 startups to really focus in on out of 427. If you know anything about accelerators, that is a tremendous feat. You usually get 50 to 100. We had 421. Around migration, we did a couple of really interesting announcements. One was our migration competency. We now have twice the number of partners who have that competency. And second, we had Smartronix, who became the first AMS partner to have a FedRAMP compliant solution as a managed service. Now, what does that have to do with migration? Well, since Smartronix now hosts it as a customer or a partner, you can now have them migrate your solution from on-premises to the cloud, and they'll take care of all the provisioning and configurations and updating that you need to happen. It was just a powerful announcement. And then on modernization, we did some really cool things around IoT. And in fact, we announced our IoT Rapid Accelerator to help our partners really envision and to pilot different types of solutions with IoT. And I think we all know the number of IoT sensors went up by 4 times during the pandemic because everybody was like, I don't want to send someone to get that data. I need a sensor to grab that data for me. And then probably my all-time favorite, especially for this one entitled, Women in Tech, is with Girls in Tech. We announced a program for the next generation of public sector leaders to help them see exciting careers in public sector, the impact they can have, and all the freaking cool technology that public sector customers use.
Okay, Sandy, I love it that you used the word freaking. I mean, I wasn't expecting that, so that was pretty cool. All right, there was so much to really dive into. One, here's a little bit of information about me. Did you know I worked at Smartronix at one time or another?
I did not know that, John. So you must be really excited about that announcement.
Well, when I saw the name and their Cloud Assure, I was actually part of that, or I worked with the team for Cloud Assure. So it's nice to see how far they've come. I mean, that's probably back in 2015. So this is a long time coming.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, for AMS, which is run by John Brigden, an amazing guy, I'm sure you know him, to have that solution be the first solution that has all the compliancy for FedRAMP, it really helps our customers, right? Because now they don't have to go out and do it. Smartronix has done that for them. So it's really cool. And you know how long sometimes it takes to get that FedRAMP compliance that you have to work on for a while.
Yeah, it's not a really quick thing. 2 other things I want to touch on before I actually get back to the next generation of public sector tech leaders with Girls in Tech, because I find that really interesting. And that's what the podcast is about. You mentioned the 3 M's: mission, migration, modernization. I really like it that it comes in 3s. Some of the other things that I saw in the announcements, there was a number around healthcare industry from the electronic caregiver, which I actually thought it was really cool. It's like the AR type experience.
The metaverse, John. I mean, you have to go and look at it. It's like a virtual caregiver in a metaverse. It is amazing. And it uses IoT sensors and AI/ML. So it's got all the tech buzzwords you could want. And it's metaverse. I don't know how else you can say it. It's metaverse. It's really cool.
Once again, I love that. I was actually taken to that. I was like, wow, I got to read a little bit more about it. The AWS Healthcare Accelerator and the path to healthcare solutions through AWS partners, which is going to be one of our topics later on in the show. One of the things I want to jump into is the Girls in Tech, because I did my little bit of homework on you and I found your website. I found your book.
Yes, I wrote a book called Geek Girls Are Chic. I wrote a book about SOA. I wrote a book about Get Bold, about marketing, social media. I love to write, which makes me a good fit for Amazon Web Services because you're always writing narratives. But I love to write and I love to teach. That's partially the reason I'm an adjunct professor at Carnegie Mellon. I love to share my insights because when I do, I learn so much from the students too. It's really a great way to learn and stay up to date on everything.
Wow. Okay. First of all, I'm blown away. 6 books. I like the with Carnegie Mellon. When I was looking and doing your research, I went to your website. I was like, oh, this should have them, all the updated. And I saw your books and I wrote them down. Extreme Innovation was another one. The Geek Girls Are Chic. I actually like the title. It's so fitting to you. It really brings out your personality. So that's really cool. I'm going to look up the other ones. I want to note those. So everybody, I'm going to drop her books in the description below. Take a look at them. I'll put the Amazon links just because obviously AWS, Amazon, I think that's pretty cool. So congratulations on everything that you've completed in your career journey and you're still getting started. It's like always day one to you.
That's right. You got it. There's just so many more things. I mean, and think about how fast all the tech is moving right now, right? Think about containers kind of taking over that new compute category. Quantum, which is really hot right now in the research section for public sector. And probably one of my favorite new ones is blockchain. We had El Salvador, Ukraine, Panama that are now leveraging Bitcoin, which is built on a public blockchain. And I can't tell you how many partners at DC Summit asked us about our Hyperledger product, what we're doing in blockchain, could we provide help and support? So it's kind of gone from 0 to 100 really rapidly, I have to say.
And speaking of partners, I noticed the theme or the drive around partners is still top priority for AWS from when I was there at SKO and still here at the summit. So let's talk about partners a little bit. Really, how do partners support AWS?
Well, we have different types of partners, John. So, our ISV partners produce solutions and we help them build those on AWS and optimize them. We have consulting partners that help create the way to deploy AWS. So they'll sometimes build a customized solution or, just help migrate or modernize something that's already there. And then, of course, we have startups, one of my favorite partner types, that are kind of the next generation that are really doing a lot of disruption. And we support all of those partners a little differently. Our overall goal, obviously, is to support the partner where they are. So if there are an ISV, then maybe looking and doing a technical assessment and getting them up to speed on all the new technologies and how they use them would be a great way to start. Electronic Caregiver was one of those that we really focused in on the tech side. How could we help them build that metaverse in the most optimized way? How could we help them leverage all that data? So each of the partner types, we really strive to ensure that we're meeting the partner where they are based on what their mission is and how they serve our customers.
All right. So here's how do partners support AWS? Now let's flip that question around. How does AWS or even someone like yourself support the partners?
Well, so our real mission is to provide them what they need to be successful. So one of the ways I determined that is I was getting really tired of being at home. I've traveled to 87 different countries, separate story, but I've eaten at McDonald's in all 87 of those countries. And I love just connecting and learning so much from the partners when I was just sitting across from them, not doing a QBR, reviewing business, but just learning about them. And so I said, there's no rule book. I'm just going to do 100 partners in 100 days to really listen to what they had to say. And so I did some on APJ time, some on European time, of course, the ones in the US, just to get to know them. And so I learned many new things of how to support them. They love our PDMs, for example. That's the people who look after them and have the relationship with them. They love our programs. They love our technical support. And so I learned both what we were doing really well and some areas that we need to double down on or triple down on as well. And so that's how we support our partners. We support them with love and by listening and then acting on what they need to be successful in front of customers.
So when did the 100 partners in 100 days start? Where are you at in that journey? Did you complete it? Did you meet it? Did you succeed it? I know you met it because I know your personality, and if you set yourself to it, I know you're going to meet those goals. But I would like to hear a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So I started in the fourth quarter of last year. I did 102 partners in 100 days. And it was, John, probably the most successful thing I did. I learned so much. I was able to help the team. I got to meet each of the PDMs because they joined me in the discussions. So I did it again in first quarter, in second quarter, and in third quarter. I'm doing it again now. So it's kind of now part of my mechanism for managing what the partners are looking for and how we can help and support them better.
That is truly customer obsession by listening to your customers. You're going in there and you're just lending an ear to them, and you're taking back what they're saying, what you can do to help them, what you can do to improve, and what kind of trends that they're seeing within the environment and how we can ultimately help them again, correct?
That's right. And again, it's like I heard about blockchain in second quarter. So at DC Summit, when people started asking me about it, I already knew what we were doing. I knew how we had beefed up that area. So they really kind of helped me look around the corners to see what was the next big thing so that I was ready for what they had, in the docket.
Sandy, awesome preparation. Just not only for listening to your customers, but getting ahead of that curve or looking around the corner. Because I've heard that term so much when I worked at AWS.
Yep, that's right. It is I think it's maybe an AWS-ism, if that's such a thing,
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it is. Whatever you look up, any of the documents, it's probably down there in the notes. It's a little key thing. You'll look around the corner. All right, Sandy, I got a couple more questions for you. One of them is really all about you. Sandy, can you tell us about your career journey?
Sure. So I didn't always want to be in tech. I first wanted to be an astronaut, go to the moon. Then I was going to be a doctor because I wanted to help others. But unfortunately, I'm very allergic. A lot of times in doctors' offices and hospitals, I will actually pass out when I smell certain chemicals. So not a good career, right? Can you imagine? You would come in to see me, John, and you'd tell me about your problem and I'd pass out. And then I would be the one lying on the table, not you. Not a good thing.
That's a role reverse.
I know, right? Not a good one either.
Yeah.
And so my advisor was not only the advisor at the medical school at Duke, but was also head of the computer science department. And so he said, look, you can still do all this great medical stuff, all this great healthcare stuff, but let's do it through computer science. And so he got me addicted to technology. And so, I started my career out in tech, and I've continued that, whether I'm, teaching at Carnegie Mellon. I teach a class in the MS of technology, the Masters of Technology. I've written books, and you can see the theme is using technology or technology itself. I've been the CEO of a startup, of a tech startup. And I've done a lot of career pivots too. Like I've been an engineering leader. I've been a chief marketing officer, a chief sales officer, a chief product management officer. So, it's really interesting that your career is never just like a flat line. It's always, you're pivoting, you start on something and then you move to something else. And it's always exciting. And if I go back to where I started wanting to be an astronaut, one of my partners just recently helped take rover to Mars. And so our technology was in it. I got to help them with it. So while I didn't get to be an astronaut, I got to assist my partner in a successful mission for the rover on Mars. I think that's kind of ironic and fun at the same time.
That sort of completes, or at least comes back to wanting to be an astronaut, right? You got to do that in a roundabout way and, participate in it. Actually, that's kind of something like surreal to really be a part of, that huge accomplishment.
And let me tell you this, we started a space accelerator. I know I told you we announced the health accelerator, but we also did a space accelerator. And one of our startups, this is so cool to me anyway, they're synthesizing oxygen on Mars so that when colonies form on Mars, that people are able to breathe. Now, how cool is that? Like a startup who's synthesizing oxygen on Mars. It blew me away, I have to say. We have some of the best partners and startups in the industry.
Huge innovators. I mean, everybody's always thinking and trying to do something different. And I hate to use the term again, look around the corner. What's next? What's going to be the biggest thing?
And I think, people underestimate space. People are always asking me, why are you guys doing space? We have so many challenges here on Earth. I didn't realize we've got partners and startups who are using satellites in space, and that data helps us with agriculture and weather and environment and even insurance. It's kind of interesting how everything is so intertwined. It all unpacks everything. Hashtag, tech for good, if you would.
So I got two more things to talk about. One of them is I really want to know about this AWS engagement principles, these partner principles that just came out today. So I'm going to leave a little bit of time for that. But my last question before we jump to it is, I really want to know what kind of advice you have out there for future leaders in tech, specifically women in tech, because if I look back at your history, your career journey, I mean, to me, you're not done. You're still getting started but you've accomplished so much. And I think others can be inspired by what you've done or what you've completed throughout your journey.
Yeah, so I have a couple of things. I actually wrote about them in my Geek Girls Are Chic book because I just felt like, gosh, I wish someone had told me this earlier. One of those pieces of advice is to, again, drawing on my tech world, act like an open API. You know what an API is, right? Yeah. Another company, has interfaces, and therefore, if you write to those interfaces, you can leverage that knowledge. And I think every leader needs to open up their information to share with everyone. A great story. I was flying to India. I tweeted I was headed to India. When I showed up at the hotel, I was going to do a presentation. The general manager said, "Hey, there's a big group of people for you down in that room." Now, I had been flying, John, for 24 hours. I had mascara dripping down my face. So I went to the room. I thought, well, shoot, I hope my team didn't come out at 11 p.m. at night because it was late. I went down there, and in the room, people are doing Bollywood dancing. They're having a great time. I'm like, who are these people? I'll never forget, this little dude comes running up to me. His name was Anil. And he said, Sandy, welcome to India. How is your one-eyed dog? Because I have a rescue. He knew about my two daughters. So he obviously knew me. To make a long story short, it turns out that he was the social media club president for the club based in Mumbai, which is where I was. He decided when I tweeted I was coming, he had to meet me. But of course, I had no time on the calendar. So he emailed the entire social media club of Mumbai, and 150 people showed up at 11 p.m. at night at my hotel. He had a projector set up right beside the boombox playing the Bollywood music. And he asked me to share some of my information on a whole set of things from social media to, all the new tech stuff. And so I had a choice to make. Do I sit here and do that? Or do I say, look, dude, you can see the mascara. I've been flying for 22 hours. I'm too tired. So I shared that information. And I have to tell you, word got around Mumbai, which is huge. Every customer I went to visit that week said, you're that woman who stayed up till 2 to help out the next generation. The best thing was when I got on stage to present at this conference I was supposed to be in, here was that whole group of the Mumbai social media club members. I got on stage, I got a standing ovation, John, and I didn't say one word. So that would be my first lesson is act like an open API, share information. My second one is ask a gazillion questions. And, this is very Amazonian too. One of my best friends is a professor at Stanford. She wrote a book where she analyzed the best innovators and tried to find out what was in common between a Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, a Steve Jobs when he was alive. And she found the one major commonality is these guys ask hundreds of questions a day. And when you're a kid, you do that, right? I have two daughters and they're like, why is the sky blue? Why is the cloud doing? They just ask and ask and ask. But as adults, most adults only ask 10 questions a day. Now you get more because you're running a podcast.
I was going to say, why is that?
Yeah, right. And so if you can imagine, when we did Deep Racer is a race car, 1/18 the size of a real car, has IoT sensors on it. And it's used for training people about AI and ML. Well, how did we come up with that? Well, we asked the first question. Our customers are looking for more ways to learn about data science and machine learning. And the answer, let's have more classes, very obvious. But as you ask more and more and more and more questions, you come up with these breakthroughs like, let's do a deep racing league. Let's make it fun for kids. Let's do company-wide deep racer leagues. Let's do women in tech deep racer leagues. And so getting more questions, the more curious you are, the better and more innovative you're going to be as you move forward.
I like that. Did you know that, first of all, the open API, I've got to take that down because it's going to be a quote that I'm going to have to put you on only because I find it very intriguing as someone of your status opening up and sharing your knowledge. And if you empower everybody else to do that, we're all going to get better. And taking off of that, you're asking a lot of questions. And yeah, I get an exception to the rule because I get to ask questions all day. But you look back at your kids and be like, yes, 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 no, that's not. And more questions come out of it. So I really like that. I'm gonna write that down. Did you know that I did a Deep Racer Underground League in my basement? My kids were my pit crew.
Oh, I did. That's really cool. In fact, if for any listener, if you haven't done Deep Racer, you can do it at your company. I did it at university like Carnegie Mellon. It is such a great way. It's a fun way to learn, right? Yep. And did your kids love it?
Oh, they absolutely love chasing the car around in the basement. We did during the pandemic, we did leagues from my basement. I would live stream it for everybody around the world. And they would race. You didn't know? I will send you some links to share. They are on my YouTube channel. Blaine was on there. Jeff Barr was on hosting it out. I actually hosted the knockout rounds from my desk for reInvent. And then what came out of that is reInvent 2020 last year. I flew out to Seattle and I hosted it for everybody who couldn't make it because everything was virtual. And that's what came about.
I saw you host it there, but I didn't know you did the other ones from your basement. I had no idea.
Yep. I said I actually have a 30-second short of me setting up the track in my basement. They were tile tracks, so I'd have to set them up, put them down, set it up, put it down. It was a long day process every time somebody wanted, but we did huge companies that wanted to keep this going. That was one of the things. So it was really fun to do. But enough about me in this. Sandy, I got to jump back to a couple more questions, or at least one more important question that just got released. AWS Partner Engagement Principles. There are 4 of them, correct, that just came out. And I absolutely love them because number 2 on it is customer obsession, which is our number 1. But you want to talk about them a little bit before we wrap things up?
Yeah. So, first we published them, but we've been living by these principles since we started the APN, which is our AWS Partner Network. We're now posting them publicly to be very transparent and to really reconfirm AWS's commitment to our partners. Hopefully our partners know how much we need them, we value them. And I know it was really very obvious at our DC Summit. So part of the principles, the first one is security. So it really talks about how much we respect and protect the privacy of our customers and our partners. And we always obtain customer and partner consent before sharing that information. The second one, which you said was first, I agree, which is customer obsession. The customer is always first for us, as you said, and for our partners. So we were going to make recommendations based on what we think is best suited for the customer, whether it's an offering or a partner. And that's really, really, really important for us. It's one of the reasons I did that listening tour. I wanted to hear what was really important to our partners. The third one is partner obsession. So, we use custom tools to speed up that partnering process, and we ensure information is shared between AWS and our partners is private. And so what we're really looking at is collaborating with that partner on an opportunity, communicating with them, setting the expectations, listening to them. What do they need? And then finally, just the facts. And, that's really important. AWS is very data-based, right? All our decisions are focused on the data. So we always take a fact-based approach when we recommend a solution to the customer. And we work with partners to, develop those recommendations for our shared customers. So we always, as well, respect the customer decision. If they make a decision to go one way versus another, We respect that and we work to support them through that, whatever that solution is, that they've decided to take. It really puts the partner top of mind for us. It was reemphasized in our SKO this year, by folks like Matt Garman, that the partner is really important to us and in such a special place in everything we do, especially in public sector.
I like number 4. I love that it says just the facts. I mean, we could have got really technical and professional and had a long thing there, but literally give us the data. One of the things with AWS is a data-driven approach. Don't say this customer has grown so much over the past years. No, tell me by how much. Where's the data? It's grown 10% year over year. This year it's grown 30%. You literally get specific. And does it pass the so what test? And that's one of the things when you read those one pagers, you read that information, give me the data, give me straight to it. I actually try to take that approach daily when I write my information, but also in my current role, what I do is write all those simplicity, easily digestible, and that quiet time in the beginning of conversations. I love that. I love reading the data and getting back to it. So that's real. I think this is really cool that they released it for all the partners. I know we've been doing it, or like AWS has been doing it for years, but it's nice to have it out in front.
I completely agree. I think that, transparency and authenticity is really important. If you asked me for another best practice, I think that would be it. Like, you can't not be yourself. You've got to be who you are. And I think being transparent about what we are going to do, what we are not going to do is also equally important. It just helps set everybody's expectations.
I couldn't agree more with you. All right, Sandy, my last question for you, and I know I keep saying my last question, but I keep thinking of these awesome ones, is, really, what advice do you have for, not only those trying to break it out into tech, but women trying to break out into the tech world? I mean, from your perspective, what advice can you give them?
Well, I would say, first of all, don't give up. Be your authentic self. Make sure that you're always being who you are. I have a great story. When I was first made a tech manager, a second line manager, which was really a big deal at that time, I was doing a turnaround in a team. And I thought, wow, one of the really cool things I could do is this team had so many superstars on it, but the team wasn't working together, John. And so I decided every Sunday night I would do a quote for each team member on my team that would really, show the significance of their role in the team. And so it took me a lot of time. I would put a quote on each person's desk on Monday. After about the 4th week, this one guy came in and he said, Sandy, we hate the quotes. He was big and tall. He was like 6'4", and he's like, stop doing them. They're too girly girl. And so he walked into my office and I was like,
I bet you didn't stop.
I am a girly girl. And I had to make a decision. Yeah. Like, do I stop? Do I act like someone that they want me to act like, or am I going to be myself? So fast forward, I continued the quotes. We actually turned the team around. The team got an amazing award. I actually won Manager of the Year that year, which is surprising since they hated them. But the big story for me was that guy who was always kind of grumpy and always told me he hated the quotes. When he retired, he invited me to his retirement dinner. I was shocked. I decided to go. And when I came in, I was seated at the table of honor beside his wife. So I'm like, oh my gosh, is he going to poison me? Like, what's going to happen? And his wife came up to me and she said, are you Sandy? And I said, yes, I'm Sandy. And I said, wait, before you say anything else, I know your husband hated the quotes. And she's like, what are you talking about? My husband loved your quotes. Do you know that he saved all of your quotes in a shoebox? And the gift that his kids gave him for retirement was a leather box to keep those quotes in it. Whenever he got discouraged, he would pull out one of those quotes and read it, and it would brighten him up and get him to go on his way. And so I guess the message of that story is you've got to be yourself. You may not see the results right away. Like I waited, 6 years before I knew this guy actually really was motivated by my quotes. But it's always important to be who you are and not who someone else wants you to be.
Nice. I like that. That's a really inspiring story that you kept doing what you as a person are used to doing, and you didn't change for somebody else. And at the end of 6 years, you felt the sense of accomplishment. You felt that it mattered to them by being yourself. And I'm glad you didn't change for that.
Yeah. And it is really easy. And, it's not an easy decision. It took a lot of courage. And, many times I was like, oh, should I continue to do this? So you will question yourself. It's not like you're just going to go and forget about everybody's opinion. But I do think it's really important in the long run that you are the leader that you need to be based on who you are. That's all we could ask of anybody, right? That diversity really makes a big difference.
Yeah. I could not agree much more. You know what, folks? I'm going to have to wrap it up here, but I want to thank you once again, Vice President of Public Sector Partners and Programs at AWS, Sandy Carter. Sandy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, John. It was magnificent. And I have to have one of those shirts, man. I love that shirt.
You know what? I'm going to put you on the list. I will get you one of these shirts, red, blue, or gray.
Has to be red.
I figured that. Actually, I was hoping to get a pink one made for the show for this.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this down. Don't worry. You are on the list.
Okay, great. Thank you, John. Thanks for the great time. And thanks for everybody listening out there too. Hopefully you've learned something from the session today. And if you have any questions, you can always reach me on Twitter, Clubhouse, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it.
Oh, thank you so much. Once again, this was the Daily Tech Show. I'm your host, John Meyer. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and the notification button because we got more awesome content on the way. Thank you, Sandy. Have a great day.
Thanks, John.